Hey everyone, this is Stephen. It's the 23rd of November 2016, and today here in the UK the Chancellor is releasing the autumn statement for the UK, the last one in fact. I'm still catching up on the details, but there's a big technology slant in there this year with a promise to invest in innovation with an extra £2 billion per year in R&D funding for technology like robotics. That's almost as exciting as the Black Friday deals that have started to drop into my inbox this week. Of course, this is your chance to get a piece of the action and start to build out your very own chatbot ahead of applying for part of the £2 billion to take it further. I've said in webcasts for a few weeks now, this is a great time of year to be talking about bots. In a lot of cases, they're going to be used in a retail context as a marketing tool in the run up to Christmas. Of course, only 32 days away. For now, an official welcome to FlowXO's Getting Started webcast, where we'll get you up and running with FlowXO with an introduction to its key features and benefits, specifically in relation to its push services for marketing, its messaging service for contacting human agents in real time, and how to collect data through a conversational form. If there's anything specific you'd like to see, just get into live chat now if you're on YouTube, or drop a note into our community later, post something over on Facebook. If you haven't been there yet, I'll give you some links for that at the end. Before we get into the webcast proper, a quick shout out to our hashtag WhatTheBot. You can follow WhatTheBot on Twitter to keep up to date with all the latest bot news. It's a great source of inspiration and will keep you up to date with the latest ideas for leveraging a bot in your business. I also just have one bot to look at with you today. Let's just get into Messenger. So this is Hello Peg. It's built by Sage, the accounting firm, and I must say I think the idea behind it and most of the functionality is excellent. It's an account and bill management app in chat. So I can check who owes me money, and it tracks my expenses just by typing how much I've spent and what on. It also supports an upload to a database in the background of a picture of a receipt, so you can conveniently then go and lose it somewhere. I can then just ask for a link, and it'll give me a link to a breakdown of everything that I've logged. So conveniently also, these links expire, so they're only ever going to work once for security. I do think it's excellent. I think the functionality is right, and it's, I have so many bots installed in my own Messenger channel. Not many bot releases escape my attention, but this one really stood out, and I can say that I genuinely use it. I just think it's missing a few buttons to make it truly easy to use. I've written to Sage to let them know, little things like putting buttons in the right place can make all the difference in terms of making the bot sticky and keep people coming back for more. So for instance here, I'm asked why not give things a go, but I'm never given any buttons to click and just go and do that. Leaving dead ends, even with a nudge like that, is avoidable, and it makes a huge difference. Okay, by this point, in terms of FlowXO, you'll have signed up for an account and you've connected up your Messenger bot. Let me know if you're having any trouble with that, either right now in live chat or pass a note in the community. Give us a note on Facebook. A quick reminder, what is FlowXO? Well, first of all, it's the future of business messaging. It says it just over my shoulder, so you know it's true. But in more direct terms, FlowXO is a complete platform for building, hosting, and managing chatbots for messaging platforms such as Messenger, Slack, and Telegram. It includes a visual editor to build bots without code. Everything is driven by a set of flows, which you build out with certain tasks. You can create and distribute your own bots, which are owned and branded by you, but controlled and hosted by FlowXO. I'm running this cast live so that I can maximize your time and provide everything you need to get started right in this session. Let me solve any queries or give any guidance you need right away. Again, there's live chat and we're on Facebook, so by all means get talking to the team and I. Let's get onto my desktop. My example business for today is the Mortgage Store, who are the home of the Mortgage Bot. The Mortgage Store are a typical mortgage broker who are regulated to advise customers on mortgage loans, and they have this Facebook page in place. They have a range of products available: first-time buyer, remortgage, buy-to-let or second home mortgages. Just some more context, the Mortgage Store simply want to communicate with customers better, provide a more engaging experience, divert basic queries away from their resource-intensive phone line, and ultimately write more business. If you got my email, you should have a bot in place by now, and Messenger open and ready to go, as well as Google Sheets, Gmail, and of course FlowXO. We'll take a closer look at that setup in a few minutes, but first let's just dive in and take a look at our bot in action. I'm going to launch him here so that you can see that clicking Get Started gives us a specific trigger to welcome new first-time customers. And right away here, he's tried to get us on track by giving us some option buttons. He's trying to fulfill his purpose. However, it's important that he can handle some basic conversation. So let's say hello. And you can see he wants to get right to the point again. It gives us some basic options right away to direct to the things that we want him to handle. But I'm more interested in how he is. I'm going to be mischievous and type in a question rather than click an option he's given. Okay, so he can easily counter that, and he's constantly directing us back into the bot's purpose, which is the whole point of having the bot out there. It's really easy to get that conversational type chatter up and running and capture any and all of the things that are thrown at the bot. We'll look at some flows in a moment so you can see how easy it was to put this together. Let's just first have a quick look at some of the other options he's alluded to. First, let's assume that in fact none of these options are immediately directly helpful, or that I'm a little bit impatient, and let's remind ourselves again what all our options are. We'll ask help. So now without fuss, we've repeated those options and we've put them directly on screen to guide the user. Okay, so let's subscribe to some content. And I'm going to pick remortgage here. And I'll be told that I'm subscribed to that content. However, let's assume in this case that was actually a mistake. Well, no problem. I can now unsubscribe to that. Instead, what I'm really interested in is getting a quote. And you can see here I've actually fallen back on some helper text rather than getting into a flow where a quote's generated from me. Now that's a problem. As the customer, I might want to get in touch with a human here at this point and say, the bot's not really helping me out. I'd like some additional help. Well, that's fine as well. And that's what I'd like to speak about. And I'm told that somebody should be in touch with me in 2 to 3 hours. Now if I just jump over into my Gmail, you'll see here that imagining I am an agent at the mortgage store, I've actually got an email directly through to me here telling me what this person said to me in the messenger channel. And the great thing is I can now just hit reply, and that message will be routed directly back here. As the customer, I could then hit reply to stay in this thread of conversation with the user, or break out and go speak to the bot again. So we'll look at how FlowXO and the FlowXO messaging service powers that option shortly. We'll also resolve the issue with getting a quote. We'll build that flow out together, and we'll send some content to our subscribers. So now we'll look at how we go about actually building out that functionality. But before we go any further, let's just take a close look at the setup I've got here on screen. I've got FlowXO, of course. We've just been in Messenger. I've also got Gmail, where we took a look at that message being routed. And I've also got Google Sheets. You can see here that I have a sheet with a very specific structure, and it's important that I've set it up this way before working with any flows. Just an idea of what's going on here before we get to our flows proper. We have 3 sheets. The first is data to push, and this is going to be our trigger sheet. Every time we put some information in that sheet, it's going to trigger our marketing messages through Messenger. We just need to put the correct content under the correct headings with a cut and paste. Our second sheet helps us do that. This is my staging area where I prepare the marketing messages I'll eventually want to send. I've made it easy to just cut and paste these pre-prepared messages in our future marketing sheet. You can see that I have all the deals that I might want to communicate to customers here. The content is relevant to our scenario, but most important is the category column here, which is going to help us contact the right customers at the right time. The third sheet here is going to be used when we collect some data through a conversational form. We'll be building that flow to populate this sheet in real time a little later. So here we are at the Flow dashboard. Just a quick shout out to this feature here. There's a referral link, and if you encourage your friends to use the platform via social media, you can earn rewards in the way of extra interactions and bots or flows. You can see here that I've arranged my flows into folders, which is great for managing what the bot does and tweaking functionality, or for organizing flows for different events or different customers. So let's consider the flows we have here and the ones we want to build. First, we're going to use FlowXO's push service to handle our marketing and deliver content to users in Messenger. We need 3 flows to handle marketing, and this one here is our first. When I set up this push trigger, I'm only required to give one thing, the name of the push. This trigger is going to act as a receiver of data that will send from another flow. I just need to make sure I name it something sensible so I can identify it later. Receive offers makes sense here because that's exactly what it's going to do. In this next action, I'm going to use the attribute service. Attributes can act like a counter, how many times somebody visited, or a flag, somebody said a specific word. It's a simple key value store in the background. We're going to use it to see if a customer is eligible to receive the manner of push we're sending each time this flow is run. They'll be eligible because they suggest a certain mortgage type when they subscribed. So now we're going to get an attribute of the specific customer. They're uniquely identified by their response path in Messenger, and we're interested in the customer's stored mortgage product preference, which we identified, you'll remember, as category in our spreadsheet. Of course, we've yet to ask the customer what their preference might be, but we do know this will be one of our 4 options or product types: first time buyer, remortgage, buy to let, or second home. This may seem a little bit counterintuitive at the moment, getting an attribute before we've set it, but it's important that we consider this flow first so that the receiver is in place and can be called from our subsequent flows. Lastly, in this flow, we just need to send a card. We're going to send some rich content rather than a simple message. I just need to fill these inputs here with the data that I'll eventually receive from the push. You can see that these outputs came directly from FlowXO. When we build our flow in a few minutes together, you'll see how easy it is just to populate those. Final thing to note here, I just need to make this send a card action conditional so that I only send content that's appropriate to the user. We can do that by checking that the value of the attribute we got in the previous task isn't empty. That is, we've previously recorded this specific customer as preferring this type of offer. Filters are really important for controlling our workflow, and you can put them on any task to define simple logical comparisons. Just making sure this workflow is on, and we're ready to move on to our next flow. Okay, so now we're ready to get customers subscribed to the content that we want to push out. First, we need a trigger based on something that's said to the bot. In this case, we're going to focus on the keyword subscribe. It's important to note that there's some fuzzy matching here. So this trigger will also function on the word unsubscribe, meaning we can neatly accommodate both cases in one flow. Next, we're going to use one of FlowXO's helper tasks to manipulate the message the customer gave to us. This is important because we want to make sure we can filter some tasks later in this flow without worrying if there are any capitalized words given. So we're going to use the text service to apply a case. Next, we're going to ask a question. We'll set the type as choice here. I'm going to ask what the product preference is. Then we're ready to revisit attributes. We're going to set an attribute, the name of the attribute being the answer to the question we just asked, which is the mortgage type that the customer is interested in. We also need to just make sure we've got a filter there so we're not doing that if the customer came to us and said the word unsubscribe. Next, we need 2 push actions, one to subscribe and one to unsubscribe, which are filtered by the lowercase message that we received earlier. We're looking for the presence or absence of unsubscribe in the trigger. And similarly, we then just need 2 filter messages to confirm the subscription or unsubscription to the customer, again filtered on the same test, the presence or absence of that word unsubscribe from the trigger. Our last flow in this set of 3 related to marketing, we're on to the exciting one. This is the opportunity now to release offers. It's a simple flow that starts with a FlowXO service integration rather than a bot new message trigger. So here we're going to use Google Sheets as a trigger. You'll remember we looked at that sheet, our trigger sheet. And then we're going to send a push to the receiver that we set up in flow 1. This is why it's important that we named it for identification here. Just making sure all these are switched on, and then we can go and check this out in Messenger. So first, let's just make sure I'm subscribed. I'll choose this option, first time buyer. I'll go over to Google Sheets. I'll pick up an offer. I'll paste it into the next row. I'll go back to FlowXR. Now, just a note, this trigger here is a trigger that needs to sync with Google Sheets. It needs to go away and look for that new data. So we just need to wait on this occasion for that new data to be recognized. So you see there the message has changed. I can check the logs here. Found a new item and we completed successfully. And just wait for this to percolate through. And there we go. The offer's sent to me in Messenger. So those 3 flows are all it took to manage our marketing. Super simple to get in place. Then it's incredibly easy to push out messages whenever you like. You could push any kind of updates that way, of course, not just offers. You could have an attribute specific to the customer and, keeping the mortgage theme, securely update them on the status of their conveyancing file or anything else. You might have several different flows, and you might use the ask a question action to ask which stream the customer would like to receive. Then just use filters and attributes, as we've already seen. Now we need to start building out the bot in terms of general conversation and other important features. Let's consider first how we greet all new customers who are speaking to the bot for the first time. When we click Get Started, we saw that customized message when we spoke to the bot for the first time earlier, and also how we respond to anything we don't understand. First, we put our catch-all trigger in place. We only need to say that it's going to be active for all of our bots. We don't need to give any other input because we're looking for everything that isn't captured by another trigger. Next, we're going to use the code service to get the first name of the user, of the customer, from the full name that Messenger provided to us. The code service is an incredibly powerful way to do, well, whatever it is you want. It can make requests to other apps or services that FlowXR doesn't support. It can perform custom manipulations or calculations on data, and it can use the output in conversations with the customer. We've used a really simple example here, but the options are limitless. If you want to interact with your CRM, your calling or dialer system, or any other web-connected app, you can do it with this service. Be sure to talk to us to see how you can get the best out of it. Now we'll handle the greeting to brand new customers who are speaking to the bot for the first time. This action, this new message, will of course be filtered because we only want to give this message on the keyword start being passed, that is, the user clicks Get Started. We also need to stop the workflow at this point if this condition is met and this task is run, because we know that as a first time visitor to the bot, this is the only thing that's relevant. And then, as a precursor to our next flow, we'll have a filtered message here that we want to be said when we generally don't understand something said during the flow of conversation. So we've counted 2 cases here, a brand new connection and a generally misunderstood message, which could have come at any point after start. We'll tackle the second case and feed into this final task here in a flow called Chatter, which demonstrates some interoperability of these flows and handles the how are you type conversation that we looked at when we first launched the bot. So now we'll look at giving some specific things to the bot to make it more conversational. You'll see how easy it is to scale these. After some simple conversation, we'll make sure we get down to business and redirect the customer to our intended process. Bots are fun, but they must definitely be functional. We'll trigger on a new message here, and we'll trigger on the phrases and keywords hello, hi, and how are. We're then going to use that code service again to get the first name. Then we're going to send a message on the basis that how are was said to us, or said to the bot. And lastly, we'll then send a message again, which is our general reply to hi, hello, etc. Again, the important thing to understand here is the interoperability of this flow with a catch-all that we have in place. With a few simple actions and a bit of thought, we can make the bot appear to respond quite intelligently, but all it took is these 4 simple actions, and then it falls back on the catch-all when it doesn't understand something, and you can see how easy it would be to scale this. Let's start to finish off in terms of general conversation and correctly directing the user. We know we've already written the help keyword with our catch-all, so we need an independent flow to manage a direct request for help. We'll also trigger on menu, which is a common human request for a list of inputs. And we'll send back the message that we saw earlier, giving some direct shortcuts to things that we can handle. Okay, so now onto some more important features now that the bot is a little bit more built out in terms of general conversation. In this flow, the in-touch flow, we're going to direct the customer to a human agent when they need some human help. We're going to trigger on these words or phrases. In touch, human contact. Also this word reply, that's important because we might want to maintain a discussion with the specific customer with the human in the same thread rather than going back to trigger something with the bot. Next we'll ask a question here just to get some more detail. What would you like to talk to a human about, just so we can prep the agent that's going to receive this message. We're also going to send another message. This time though, this is on the basis that the keyword reply was passed, so we know we're in the middle of a conversation with a human. Then we're going to use the messaging service in order to be able to send a message to the human agent. Again, we've got 2 actions here, just to tailor the content based on this being a first time message or a reply to a current thread. We're then going to send a message finally in this flow to the customer just to let them know their human will be in touch soon, and it's been great speaking to them. Now it's that easy to get the message routing we saw in place a few minutes ago when we complained that the bot couldn't get us a quote. We're going to use the messaging service again in a moment. It's a really powerful tool that makes bots better than any single AI. We have all the advantages of bots and human intelligence. Before we do that, just a quick but important note to say that we use Gmail here in this example, but you can link up the messaging service to any address and route messages through Freshdesk, Help Scout, Salesforce Desk, or any other ticketing software for complete customer interaction management. So let's just take this up a level and make this a little bit more exciting. We'll put this into a sales context and we'll build out together a get a quote workflow. First, I want to trigger on the keyword quote. I'll just turn my workflow on at this point so I don't forget. Then, just to keep this flow engaging, I'll send a message back to the customer right away. Then we'll ask a question. And we'll use a FlowXO output here. So click the little FlowXO icon, and then I'm going to select the username of the customer, and we'll ask a question. And we want to validate as email in this case. We'll ask another question. and we'll validate this as a number. And one final question. And we'll just make this one a little bit friendlier because we're going to ask for some sensitive information. Could I take your salary? And we'll give them a thumbs up. We'll validate that with a number as well. So next in this flow, we're going to use a FlowXO helper service. We're going to use the number service, and we're going to use the calculate action. The expression is, I'm going to take the result of the third question that we asked, which was about the salary. I'm going to multiply that by 4.5 times, which is a typical mortgage lending criteria. Important to always keep the customer up to date with what we're doing. So immediately now I'm going to send a message back to the customer. I have some pre-prepared text here, but you're going to see that I'm going to use a FlowXO output again, because this time I want the result of our calculation which we just performed. And lastly, or penultimately rather, I'm now going to use Google Sheets, and I'm going to add a row to the new customer sheet that we looked at earlier. And you can see here it's as easy as just picking the outputs to go into these inputs. Email was the answer to my first question. Mobile was the answer to my second question. Salary was the answer to my third question. And the mortgage amount was the result of that calculation that we performed. And very finally, we're going to use that messaging service again to route this new hot lead directly through to an agent of the mortgage store. And we'll give their name, and the mortgage amount. So just to confirm, two things have happened here. We're going to log the new lead that comes to us through this conversational form, and we're going to put it into our Google Sheet to track it. And we're also going to pass the lead to an agent right away as a hot lead that an agent can then go ahead and try and close. So let's run this flow and see it in action. Let's just make sure it's switched on over in Messenger. This time when we ask for a quote, we'll give our email. We'll give a number. We'll give our salary. And we get a message back with an indication of a quote, also a message that we've been put in touch with an advisor, and they'll be in touch in a few minutes. So let's look what's happened downstream here. Well, first of all, I've logged my new customer through this interactive conversational form, and also I've got a message here direct through to me as an agent of the mortgage store, so I can go ahead now and try and close this deal with this new customer. And there's the message come through to Messenger, so I can then go on and try and close that deal. So here you can see we have the basis of a really good bot. We have some marketing functions in place, and we're able to point out options to a brand new customer right away, and we can respond when we don't understand a particular message. We've also looked at data collection and configuring human interaction directly through the bot with a messaging service, which are both very powerful customer service and sales tools. So this is it, crunch time. I hope you've seen how easy it is to get started, and you have some of your ideas about what you'll build next. Here's what pricing looks like. For only $19 a month, you can build 15 bots or flows and accommodate 5,000 interactions. There's no contract or tie-in period, and you can downgrade to a free plan at any time. Because you've been kind enough to watch today, I'd like to sweeten the deal. Here are links to all the flows that we've built out today, so you can install those right away. To get them all in place, you will need more than the 5 flows that are available in the free edition, so I'll give you a code to be used only in the next 24 hours that will give you your first month absolutely free. With no tie-in period, that means that you can completely de-risk your own bot launch. Don't forget, this video will be online for a short while later, so you can get those links if you need them. Finally, just a few resources to be aware of. There are extensive help docs at support.flowxo.com. We have a lively community at community.flowxo.com, a constructive blog with some other use cases at medium.com/flowxo, and watch out for our hashtag WhatTheBot on social media to get all the latest bot news. Thanks for watching. I've really enjoyed building out that bot with you today. Please do get in touch, get signed up, and tell me more about your use case. I'm going to be on live chat now for a little while. I'd be delighted to help you get building things out. I will be running this session weekly, so feel free to come and watch again if you like. The core content won't change, but if you have a specific case, perhaps we can build that into the session. Just a final reminder, if you get onto Twitter and hashtag WhatTheBot now, I'll be sure to give you some retweets there too. Get in touch. I'd love to hear from you and see you all soon.